All right, good morning, everybody. We have the amazing opportunity every 10 weeks or so to ask questions on this mastermind from a team standpoint. So this morning is the Buck team, and we've gotten some questions that have been sent in. So I wanted to pass those out to the mastermind team, which is made up of I'll go through a list, but it'll take a lot of time. We've got Ed and Rebecca Weens, we've got Debbie Wetzler, we've got David Silverman, we've got Denny Robinson, we've got Chuck and Tammy Gates, we've got Terry Latham, we've got Jerry and Marcia White, we've got Gina Moran, we've got Nancy and Dick Walker, we've got Ivani Yu, we've got Leland Duck. I don't know who else I'm forgetting, but we've got plenty of people that have plenty of experience and lots of success, lots of results. So the answers that they'll be giving to the questions this morning are not just based in theory, it's based in real time, like what works in the real world. So let me pass out the first question. The first question is, someone who you don't know asks, what do you do? How do you answer that question in 10 seconds? Who'd like to take that one?
Well, I'm a pretty black and white practical girl, so I just usually say I'm in network marketing. I'm with a company called ASEA. Have you heard of it?
There you go.
I guess the thing that I don't do is hit the play button on a big long spiel. My response is varied. It's like, what lure do you use out of the tackle box? Well, it depends. Depends on what I think the fish might bite. Right. But it might be anything from, I sell salt water from Salt Lake City, to I introduce a healthcare breakthrough once thought impossible. Just something to maybe pique a little bit more conversation, but it's definitely not a green light to enter into a presentation.
Absolutely. I was talking to some teachers one time, and I try to get people talking first so that they tell me what they do first, so that when they ask me what I do, I know what to say. So I was talking to some teachers, and they were telling me how they love their job, they work really hard. They just don't get paid very much. And so when they asked me what I do, I said, I help teachers make more money. So that's what Ed's talking about, is, kind of customizing your answer to, the person that you're talking to. Anybody else want to take that one before we move on to the next question? Okay, then we'll move on to the next question. What is the most important video you've used to help people get to know about ASEA, the product, and the business?
AmazingMolecules.com, the breakthrough video. It's kind of the default for a lot of us, I think.
Okay, perfect. Anybody else? Is that what everybody uses, or is there another video that is somebody's particular favorite as a first look for someone who's just learning about ASEA, the business and the product?
If it's to use Ed's analogy, if it's the right lure, I like to have them watch the Genesis as soon as they can, just because it shows our heart and everything. So Cindy, I'm getting some texts from the mastermind team that they're unable to get in. So I think that's why it's just us guys.
ASEA United Zoom, you gave them that link, right?
Yeah, I did. And
if you give them DennyRobinsonZoom.com instead. For some reason, the ASEA United Zoom link isn't working right now. Sorry about that. But if you give them Denny Robinson Zoom, that one works.
Okay. All right.
So Bo and I've been using Genie a lot, and there's a video on there called the 5 minutes, and we love that video. And the other one that we use is just what Tammy said. It's the short Genesis. It's a 5-minute Genesis. And so that's on Genie also. So those are my 2 favorite tools. Anybody else want to take that one? If I know Ed and Tammy are here, and if the rest of the group are having trouble getting in, maybe we'll just move on to the next question. Since they've addressed that. There's Jerry and Marcia. Jerry and Marcia, what do you like as your first look video?
If it's a person that I've recruited that is looking at it from a standpoint of a really massive new discovery, I still use the Genesis video, and the one called 7minutes.info. That's a condensed version of the same thing. If it's a person that is looking at it for a more specific piece, then I like the one where it's got more testimonials to it with gosh, Leland and Ashley and that one.
And how do you access that video, Jerry?
Crazy thing is I still go get that video off of Genie.
Off of Genie. Yeah. Yeah. Genie's got, some amazing possibilities. It's an incredible tool. Maybe go over to Debbie. I've seen people popping on. Maybe people aren't having trouble getting on anymore. Debbie, the question is, what do you use as a first look video for someone who's just finding out about ASEA, from a business standpoint or a product standpoint? What's your favorite first look video?
Well, the video you sent to me was Alan Noble's, and I still like that only because it explains what redox is, and it also explains the opportunity available with it. So that's still my go-to video.
From amazingmolecules.com?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, fantastic. All right, let's go on to the next question. The next question is, if you had only one opportunity to describe ASEA, the product and or the business, what would you say, or what resource do you believe is the one that has proven to make people stop and pause and become curious?
I usually say, you should try this. I used to be ugly. Okay, well, I'll give you, a little bit of a square shot. It's, imagine if your cells in your body were able to do what they originally designed to do and access information about the current situation, and then turn on its awareness that it needs to change, and not only change, but then can communicate with other cells and adapt in the changes they should make. What we've found is the ability to supply the letters of the alphabet to allow it to talk to itself.
There you go. So you start talking about
and that essentially reminds the cells how they could potentially work, or what they used to work like when they were young.
Perfect. Anybody else want to take that one? And I can read it again if you, I'll read it again just so for the people that just got on. I see Nancy and Dick just popped on. If you had only one opportunity to describe ASEA, the product and or the business, what would you say, and what resource do you believe is the one that has proven to make people stop and pause and become curious?
I don't necessarily use a tool. I mean, I might use the tool as a follow-up, but what I sometimes will say, I say, here, you need to know, you should probably know why so many health professionals and scientific researchers are calling this the greatest health science breakthrough of our lifetime. It's not marketers like me saying that. Well, I'm saying it, but I'm parroting the smart people. It's not a Madison Avenue concocted slogan. It's a statement of conviction and beliefs based on their research, and many times based on their experience. And so, just know that that's what they're saying.
Excellent. Anybody else want to take that one?
Just to keep it simple, you could say, how would you like to feel and act more like you were 5 years old again?
I don't know. I wasn't very mature at 5 years old, but
What I heard one time, especially for skincare, is to say, how'd you like to look and feel like you're 16 years old with only with better judgment?
there you go.
You know, you could say something like, if I knew that health so much, but worrying about it, would you like to know about that?
Say it one more time, Dick. You were kind of breaking up. If I knew
If
about
I knew,
something-
if I knew of something that could improve your health so much that you could quit worrying about it, would you like to know about it?
there you go.
And another thing that we all have to keep in mind is that people, they love your conviction and they will follow the conviction that you have. And so the word sets are kind of important to have a little sample like that, but it's how you deliver it, how convicted you are as you deliver it. And the ultimate way to be convicted, or in the mind of the prospect, is to care about who they are and what they're saying. And so our questions that lead up to that, or our efforts to lead up to that, if we can get them to describe what their life is like, what they're looking for, who they are, then we can really address something really clearly, what they're looking for, because that's what they're paying attention to anyway. Setting
Yeah,
it up
you know,
properly.
Leland, you bring up a good point, because last night on the ASEA Global Expansion Team Zoom, we had Jackie Wilson talking. And one of the things she said is, when you're talking to somebody, if you can identify a pain point and then, bring that pain to the surface. I mean, it sounds brutal. It sounds like you're not serving that person, but you really are, because you're reminding them about what's not working in their life, so that they can solve that problem. And you can kind of identify whether they really are somebody who wants to solve that problem, or whether they just are somebody like to wallow in the misery and complain about it. So yeah, great point. Anybody else?
And
want to
I
take
like
on?
what I heard one of my associates
Yeah.
say one time was that, oh, I'm sorry, Nancy, I'll finish quick. Basically, he said, instead of asking, where do you hurt? He asked, where does your life hurt?
Oh, very good. I
Oh,
like
that's good. I was going to say something similar, Cindy. I loved the training last night. And I think you need to have several like things in your toolbox that you can refer to, depending on who you're talking to and what they've revealed to you about themselves. For instance, when I talk to older people like Dick and I
Hey,
say,
watch that.
like Dick.
You're gonna get it.
You can tell I've got plenty of sleep last. Anyway, I say, if you don't want to downsize your life when you're retired, you should find out, how Dick and I have not had to do that, because most people do have to do that. They do have to downsize their life, and who wants to do that at this most important time in life, when you've worked so hard? That this is the time to live it up. And so people usually need advice about that.
Yeah, another way and bringing out and getting them to concentrate on their pain. I like to say, have you ever thought about what your life will be like when you're no longer getting a paycheck from X, Y, and Z, whoever they work for? Are you what's it going to feel like to live on the savings that you've got put aside right now? Because most people don't have much in the way of savings put aside right now, but that's the biggest thing that people like to forget about, put aside, and worry about tomorrow. But when tomorrow comes, oh my God. So you got to get them to start thinking about the future and what the future is going to be like. If they're holding down 2 jobs and 2 or 3 jobs just to keep the family running right now, what's it going to be like when you don't have those paychecks coming in?
That's right. If I'm talking to a younger person, I might say, hey, are you the captain of your own ship? Are you the passenger on somebody else's boat? And they'll look at me like, huh? What do you mean? I'm like, well, if I invited you to go to Hawaii, all expense paid trip today, could you just drop everything and go? Or would you have to ask your boss? get them thinking about the freedom, the lifestyle, the flexibility that this kind of business offers. So, all right, let's move on to the next question. The next question is, if you were being told about ASEA for the first time today, what is one thing you believe is vitally important in sharing with others?
Well, I know a lot of people will default to the product side of what ASEA is, and that's very definitely, it's a huge gateway into the ASEA camp. But to me, just based on my experience in the industry, it was far more important to me to get a grasp of the track record, the strength, the culture, the integrity of the company leadership and the field leadership. To me, those were much more important. I mean, there's a lot of great products on the marketplace, and obviously nothing like what we have, but you've been around long enough to see great product companies fail because of poor leadership at the company level. That to me was far more important.
Absolutely.
I agree with Ed. A lot of people we're talking to they've had a bad experience with network marketing, and sometimes they're not even willing to look at it. And so if you address an issue up front, like Ed talked about, the integrity of the company, the culture that we have, what you've seen yourself personally, that makes a huge difference, especially for me as an entrepreneur. I'm going to want to know those things. For a lot of people that are not, they're just interested in a product, they still want to know that, and that you believe in the company and its product. So I agree with Ed totally. It's credibility means a lot for a lot of people to move forward.
Absolutely. Anyone else want to take that one?
Cindy, I like to address the fact that there's no competition out there, that you can't get these molecules anywhere else, even off Amazon, because if you try getting it off of Amazon, sometimes it comes expired or tampered with. And I just make it really simple and put some suspicion in their mind about Amazon, but I like to emphasize that you can't get it anywhere else. I'm watching the CBD. I don't say this to them, I'm saying this part to you guys, but I'm watching the CBD industry in network marketing really closely because of the stiff competition there. And I really believe that you can buy CBD anywhere, but you can get it from so many network marketing companies too. And so I really believe that there will be some associates out there from other CBD companies looking for a good home in our future, just because it's so hard for those people to build their business.
That's great that you're bringing that up on 4/20. That's today's date. You know that, Tammy? Do you know about 4/20?
What does 4/20 mean? Because we have a
4/20
dispensary.
is all about marijuana. I don't know what the association is, but 4/20 means, marijuana. So
It's
Well,
the
we-
police call signal for if they're catching someone with marijuana. I have a 420 here or whatever.
oh,
I love it.
Oh, okay.
And that market is changing a lot from the CBD. Now the new thing is Delta 8, and now they're looking at Delta 12. And I was involved as an owner of a company where we manufactured the product into oil for companies around the country. I just recently sold it a few weeks back because of all the changes in the industry, and a lot of people are really hurting. People will be looking for something else because of all the changes and the restrictions. It's just getting more and more and more complicated. And bottom line, I believe we have a product that's superior.
Yeah, I think Tammy's right. The fact that we have a monopoly on this was an important part of me making the decision. There are a lot of good products out, a lot of good things that people should be using. There's nothing as good as ASEA, but not having to go through a long explanation about why ASEA is the best source of readout really takes a load off of our shoulders. And knowing that we don't have any competition And, knowing that it will probably be a long time before we do. And by the time we do, we will be the redox signaling company out there. Things are changing with name recognition, but having the only and the first product in the marketplace. I mean, look at how many types of facial tissues you can get, and yet most people say, hand me a Kleenex. And we will be, hand me some of that ASEA, because we are the leader and we will continue to be the leader. And right now, we're unchallenged leader in this market.
And something that plays well here in North Carolina where we live, tease Rebecca here a little bit. This is the self-proclaimed epicenter of medical research and scientific knowledge. And to have North Carolina-based validation is a big deal here. And it's a big deal all over because it really is a recognized center for the kind of research that validates products like ours. So we leverage that.
I remember thinking when I first heard about this, that this was pretty much just the complete package. It was unlike any other product. We were the only ones that had it. I met the leadership of the company and knew I was in really good hands after hearing all of their business acumen and everything that they'd done. And I knew that they were going to be able to bring this to the world without failing, basically. And then the field leaders that I met when I went to the launch of the product. I've never met such great people. And then we continue to attract those great people into this company. And it just was everything I'd ever been looking for. So that's what I would say.
Yeah, I remember when we went to our first fly-in, remembering how many antioxidant companies they were. And so the conversation that those network marketing antioxidant companies were having is, my juice is better than your juice. And it's the same kind of conversation that CBD companies are having. My CBD is, more pure than your CBD. And we don't have to have that conversation. And we can truly be in education, not as much in sales, because we are revealing something that people have never heard of before. And now 10 years in, there's so much validation from so many different universities opening wings to study redox biology that there's so much third-party validation that pointing towards the direction that we're going with a corner in the marketplace, that if you don't see that as an opportunity, then you're probably not an entrepreneur.
That's good.
It's really interesting. Bonnie Rogers is on the call here, Benita, and we had a call last night, and the guy is with a company called Melaleuca, which most of you have heard of. And I remember, and even though and there's some people here from Idaho as well, but I remember when Frank, who is the owner of Melaleuca, actually was suing people that had got sidetracked from Melaleuca and joined other network marketing. And even some of them, they'd quit. And then they went and signed up in another network marketing company. And he was suing, actually taking them to court, because Idaho at the time had a no compete clause that if you got involved in another business within 3 years of similar activity, that he could take you to court. And he actually did that. And if you can imagine Vertus, Tyler, Jerem, any of them deciding that if you decided you wanted to walk, that they were going to sue you because you went to another company. Can you even fathom that in your mind? And the thing is because, this is that type of an integrity of a company that we're going to draw people to us continually. And the ones that walk just haven't been paying attention. And but they're not going to sue to get anybody back or keep them from going somewhere else. So it's just kind of a sign of who we are, who the company is.
There you go. All right, last question before we wrap it up for the half hour. How do you get duplication going in your business? How do you take somebody from introducing them to ASEA, they become an associate, and then how do you get that process of duplication going on that team?
Well, a couple things come to mind. Duplication is not generally taught in school. It's not something that comes with your DNA. It's something that if you're exposed to, for an entrepreneurial person or a person who has any sort of sense of being able to leverage time, and it could be, I often relate it to, if you were a carpenter and you were making something that had repeated pieces that were of the same size and shape, you would come up with a tool, a jig they call it, to make those very, very quickly, instead of doing them one at a time. And maybe I'll just set it in there and it's a block and it's set at the right point. They're just little, what do they call them? Life hacks that make things reproduce much more quickly and help them understand completely different concepts. It's allowing people to have not only access to the technology for their health and access to the information and business acumen and skill, but to allow those people to provide the same opportunity to the next generation and those to the next generation. And watch these numbers. Let's say, for example, you had 1,000, or I do it in terms of hours. And say if you have only so many hours, 8,760 hours, I think is all you got in a year. That's if you never slept. Then you can only work so many hours. But if you had a few partners or a few people that when they work, you gain benefit from it as well, you could get by, make the same or more with less hours. And if those people have the ability to do the same and it compounds, then you just lay out the numbers on paper and it blows people away. The best one I've ever seen is Don Failla, Failla. If you want to get one of his books, it's called Own Your Own Life. And he does these very, very, very simple models. He takes 2 times 2, like you did when you were in grade school, equals, and then he has you say, well, what's the answer to that? Well, 4. And he says to people, if you find a prospect that can't answer that equation, you need a new prospect. And those 2, finding 2, and that's 4. And then the 4, you put a times below that, and 2 is 8. And then the 8 people now working in this system, and then 8 times 2 is 16. And he said, watch this. If you have 3, so he puts 3 next to the 2, and times 2, it puts or times 3. This is, it's multiplying geometric progression. Then it's 3, 9, 27, 81. So he says, which is bigger, 18 or 81? And the big deal is you had just one more person that you added in each generation. And he said, these numbers we just don't normally think about. So I go into a lot of that stuff.
So bottom line is you talk about it. The way you get duplication going is you teach it, you talk about it. Chuck, or Tammy, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I think this is a great time to put in a plug for our ASEA Mastermind on April 24th that's being live streamed from Vegas, because everyone who registers for that is going to receive from Eric Worre for free his radical duplication course, which is, I think he said it was worth $597 or something like that. And so make sure that you register for that event. We're not sure if there's going to be a replay or a recording available or not. But even if someone on your team cannot attend live, don't forget they get that for free.
They get that for free if they register.
Yes.
Right. So just
Radical
go to
duplication.
Okay, great. So they just go to ASEA Mastermind, ASEA United Mastermind.com, and they can register for the Eric Worre event, which many of the people on this team are going to be at Las Vegas, and we're going to be broadcasting live from his home. And and for those of you who have built gold businesses and above, if you have 20 people on your team who have registered for the event, then you will be invited to a special leadership mastermind which will follow the Super Saturday in the morning. So make sure you reach out. This week is the last week we have to register for the event. So don't miss this event, you guys. This is a big deal. ASEA is on the map direct from Eric Worre's home. I mean, there is no bigger stage than this, and ASEA is going to be there front and center. So please get everybody on your ASEA team registered for this event. So anyway, we are at the bottom of the half hour. Thank you so much for sending in your questions, guys. And thanks you guys so much for answering them. So have a great morning, everybody.
See y'all on Saturday.
Thank you, Cindy.
Thanks, Cindy, for hosting, and thanks, Alyssa.